Manual workflow and approval processes are prone to error, cause delays in project delivery, and impact operational performance. Adept's seamlessly integrated workflow capabilities automate simple or complex business processes to improve productivity, collaboration, work quality, and performance. This demonstration will introduce you to Adept's powerful workflow capabilities. Let's start with some of the basics. Files are stored in Adept libraries. A library can be set as either checked or unchecked. If the library is unchecked, that means there is no workflow, no approval process for those files. If the files live in a checked library, the document will now follow your predefined workflow and approval steps before the file becomes the official new version. So, you have the flexibility to have a combination of checked and unchecked libraries depending on your needs at any stage of the project. Now, when I check a file out to work on it, Adept places a copy of the file in my work area. The original version is locked safely on the server while I work on the copy. No one else can edit the original while I have it signed out, helping to prevent duplicates and overwrites. When I have made some changes and I'm ready for others to see them, I simply check it back in. Because this document resides in an unchecked library, you can see there's no workflow. The status changes from out to in, and this is now the new version for all to see. Now let's look at a checked library. When I check in a file I've made some changes to, the predefined workflow for this collection of documents is triggered. You'll see the status changes to review. An email notification can go out to the people who have been assigned or designated to review and approve this step of a workflow. Rather than the email containing the files that need to be approved, we include a link that takes them to Adept and directly to the files they need to approve. This way, we are not routing uncontrolled revisions through email and clogging up your email system. These same notifications can also appear in your Adept inbox. Down in the document dashboard, on the Workflow tab, you can see when the file was checked in, exactly what step it's currently on, the group of users it's assigned to, what time they were notified, and as the file moves through the steps, you will be able to see when it's approved or rejected to that next step. As a reviewer, I can look at both versions of the document, the one that is currently in review and the last approved version of the file. Adept's built-in viewer supports viewing hundreds of file types, redlining, printing, and has compare and measurement functionality. Now, not only can you view different versions of the file, but you can also run a comparison between the two documents. In this case, Adept displays a new version, the old version, and the third window highlights exactly what is different between the two, making it easier for me to approve or reject changes, or perhaps make some additional markups. Now, I'm satisfied with these changes, so I'm going to right-click and approve this document. I may be asked to add a comment before the document moves on to the next step. Now, down below, I can see that Adam has approved this document on this date and time, and here is his comment, and now we're waiting for the project managers to review this document. Adept gives workflow administrators the ability to create many different workflows and edit them as they deem fit. The workflow we were just going through is the design review workflow, and you can see it has 3 steps. You can add, delete, or reorder steps. You can also add time-based alerts to notify someone if the entire workflow is taking too long. If I open up a step of the workflow, I can see who's responsible to approve at this step. In this case, anybody that's part of the CAD Managers group. There is a whole host of options here. For example, I can decide that this step requires multiple approvers to move to the next step. I can make this step an auto-advance step if I want, where Adept is simply notifying specific users that the document has arrived at this point in the workflow process, but it doesn't require them to do anything. In addition to alerts for the entire workflow, I can set up an alert at any step of the workflow to notify someone if the step is taking longer than we'd like. You have flexibility to give some users the option to reroute a document to a different workflow, and you can daisy chain these together to create a very in-depth workflow process. You may give specific workflow participants the option to expedite or skip steps. For example, if a typo was found in a document, there may be no need to have the file go back through the entire review process again. In this case, Adept will track which steps of the workflow were skipped. You can determine what step a file will go through if someone rejects it. For example, you may have 10 steps in your workflow, and if it's rejected at steps 5 through 8, you may want the document to go back to step 3. It is very simple to build workflows. The idea behind Adept's workflow engine is to automate as many steps in your process as possible, and cut down on the lag time and mistakes that usually take place when moving physical documents around the organization, or when trying to enforce routing of documents through a specific process using emails. Now, it's important to remember that Adept can be configured very simply to meet the most basic document management and workflow needs, with the ability for you to use more functionality when it makes sense for your organization. Adept is very flexible and scalable. If you're interested in learning more about Adept's workflow capabilities, please contact us for a discussion about your requirements and a one-on-one demonstration. Or visit synergissoftware.com for more information.